At number 30, we have Minonians, I think that's how you say it, by Giant Squid. I mean, a concept album based on the Greek Bronze Age civilization of the Minonians. I mean, hell, yeah, that just sounds cool on paper. And with this sort of progressive metal and post-metal tinged instrumentation and a bit of sort of tad like Greek-style folk music-y type things thrown in, yeah, Giant Squid are a very interesting band, and definitely one that if you're into prog metal, you have to have checked out in 2014, without a doubt. And number 29, Condemned to Hope by Black Moth. Again, I saw these at Damnation, and the lead doom act really deliver this unrelentingly dark, varied doom metal record with hooks aplenty and Harriet's outstanding voice. I mean, there's a lot of bands doing doom, particularly in 2014. And 2014 really was a very good year for doom. So to really stand out from the crowd is something quite difficult. And they seem to, very much so. I thought they were put a very interesting take on doom. Yes, you could say, well, you know, they're influenced by Sabbath and sound a bit like Sabbath. Yes, a lot of doom bands sound a bit like Sabbath. I really wouldn't look over this band just because they have a Sabbath influence. They do it very well, and yeah, with songs this well written, I don't see what there isn't to like. Number 28, my favourite blues album of the year. So who could it be? Joe Bonamassa, we've had him. Philip Sayce, we've had him. What about Dan Patlansky and his album Dear Silence Thieves? Now, we haven't had him. This is someone I wasn't even aware of till that long ago. He's a South African bluesman, and really I should have been aware to him. This is a mature, very well written blues record. Well, as I said, the best blues album of the year, and in fact it could have been higher if it really had more time to let it sink in. And what I particularly like about this is a lot of blues albums, they can just be focused on all these guitar solos, and the actual sort of songwriting can often be just put by the wayside. But really, Dan Patlansky, I'd say more than anything, is a songwriter on this album, more than his guitarist. Well, hell, he can play guitar magnificently, clearly. Definitely more of an emphasis on the songs and just delivering solid tracks. Number 27, For the Parts Unknown by Every Time I Die. When I first heard about it, it took me a while. I decided to relent into listening to this because I sort of had them classified as a metalcore band. And I don't like metalcore, I don't. But I suppose there's various different types of core genres. You have more metalcore influenced stuff like, well, Kill Switch Engage, which is like, the not so great side. But then you have the Dillinger Escape Plan, like mathcore-y side of it, and damn, they're a brilliant band. And Every Time I Die, far, far closer to Dillinger than they are Kill Switch Engage or Trivium. This is very much angular riffs, very technical, very proficiently played, with short, to-the-point songs, hard-hitting, yet strangely melodic in the same way Dillinger are able to do their stuff. And I definitely say, if you're a fan of Dillinger, you have to listen to this album. You're definitely going to enjoy it. Number 26, For Once With the Storm by Ghost Brigade. These guys, I think they're Finnish, I believe, I think so. And they take the best bits of sort of old school, like Catatonia and Opeth, that type of death doom type thing, and they sort of had their own sense of depth and musical accomplishment, creating this wonderful progressive death metal album. Definitely my favourite prog death metal album of the year. I don't think there's been too many really great prog death metal albums in 2014. This is definitely a standout. I've liked Ghost Brigade for a little while now. I just got them about 6 months ago, but I've been listening to them, and this album, yeah, definitely one of my favourites of their discography so far. Actually, certainly what I've listened to of it. Very strong album, and all the things I like from prog metal, or from prog death metal, combining clean vocals with growls, and they're good growls. I like the growls here. They're kind of understandable. So yeah, Ghost Brigade, definitely worth checking out. And number 25, Blues Pills by Blues Pills. One of the most exciting, electrifying debuts of 2014. And yeah, I mean, this year it was very good for us fans of 70s rock music and sort of a modern take on that type of thing. But as this revival scene is prone to providing a lot of bands that are kind of unoriginal, a bit iterative, and just and Blues Pills are not one such band, adding their own touch to a tried and tested sound, with the vocalist, who I'm sorry I can't remember her name, being a particular highlight. They've got this sort of young French guitar prodigy as well. Everything's in their favour. I saw them a bit supporting Rival Sons. Unfortunately I didn't catch all of them because I didn't bloody know they were supporting Rival Sons, because I was an idiot and forgot to look it up. So I only catch the last couple of songs. But they were fantastic what I saw of them, without a doubt. Blues Pills, one to watch for the future. Number 24. Definitely an interesting album in 2014. Transgender Dysphoria Blues by Against Me. Now this is an album that, even without the accompanying story, is just one of the best punk albums I've heard in a damn long time. So for those unfamiliar with Against Me, and I'm not too familiar with them, I mean, I personally discovered them when the lead singer appeared on Joan Jett's last album, Unvarnished, in 2013. Her name, Laura something. And the thing about this is that she's transgender. For most of Against Me's career, she was a man and is now a woman. And this is her first album doing that, and it's why it's called Transgender Dysphoria Blues. And it is particularly interesting lyrically, this album. I think that's definitely one of its main strengths, is its lyricism, and talking about this sort of the struggle of being transgender. And it's a lot of themes that really aren't explored all that much in rock music or punk or metal or anything. And while this album's only 28 minutes long, it's punk, so you can get away with it. It has that it's short, to the point, angry, aggressive, very emotive, and damn, she has a strong voice. And particularly, as I said, it's just the lyricism that really caught my eye with this album. It's very, very well presented, and definitely a release worth checking out. Number 23, of course, is going to be a Redeemer of Souls by Judas Priest. Priest return in fine form, doing what they do best, traditional British metal. Here they take bits and pieces from their entire catalogue, well, maybe not their entire catalogue, not Rock and Roll or Nostradamus, but most of their albums, and piece together a nicely crafted modern Priest albums that owes as much to British Steel as it does Painkiller and as it does Sin After Sin. They really take a variety of Priest sounds here, and it just works in one album. And again, particularly what stands out in a lot of modern Priest albums, particularly on Angel Retribution, particularly here, Halford, of course known for his amazing falsetto and high vocals, has really managed to capture that baritone vocal range, and his baritone vocals are just killer here. While KK Downing, of course, had to be replaced, the replacement fits in very nicely, and I would honestly say brings a bit of fresh air and a new lease on Judas Priest's life. Number 22, The Satanist by Behemoth. Big surprise for me, since black and death metal is not usually something that appeals to me, but I had to stand and take note at this monumental 2014, which everyone was talking about when it came out. All just on every website, just Behemoth, 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 Satanist, Satanist, Satanist. So I had to listen to it, and yeah, I was not disappointed. This just felt like such an exciting, diverse album for black and death metal, with what stands out, it is huge atmosphere, and just some particularly stunning tracks. Oh Father, Oh Satan, Oh Son, one of the top 5 tracks of 2014. It's just genius what Nergal managed to achieve here, and particularly after the problems he's been through. The Behemoth have come back with a freaking vengeance, and certainly gained me as a fan. Number 21, another death metal album, Sweven by Morbuscron. Very refreshing album in death metal. That's what I liked about this. What Morbuscron managed to do masterfully here is balance the light and shades. Their use of dynamics is really one of the best I've heard in death metal of recent years. They create a sort of musically lush, but yet also classic death metal record. Unfortunately, when I saw them supporting At the Gates and Triptychon, and unfortunately because they were in a car accident literally like an hour before the show, they came on and played like one track, and then went off, and the whole audience at first looked at me, it's like, why have they just played one track and then gone? But it turned out that they'd been a car incident, so, you know, fair enough. I mean, the fact they played one track, good on them. And yeah, Morbuscron, definitely would like to see them live, I suppose, well, properly. I think they'd be very good, and yeah, definitely one of the death metal highlights of the year. Number 20, Demon by Gazpacho. Again, another band I wasn't aware of before 2014, but damn well should have done. This is eclectic prog, which definitely takes you on the most musically diverse albums of the year, with multiple genres put together, but so seamlessly and so tastelessly. Definitely Marillion influence, and this band's past catalogue has been quite Marillion heavy, certainly in the melodies, but here I really think Gazpacho find their own voice. The songs I've been walking past 1 and 2 are breathtaking musical journeys. And it's only like 4 or 5 tracks, this album, and it's not too long, it's only around 40 odd minutes. It really doesn't need to be any longer. It says all it needs to say in only a few tracks, and those tracks are so well composed, so well constructed, and truly progressive. They're not prog in the sense of emulating 70s bands from past, no, they're prog in the sense of pushing the boundaries of music, and that's what Gazpacho do with Demon. Number 19, The Serpent and the Sphere by Aelock. Whose list hasn't bloody Serpent and the Sphere made? So of course it was going to be in mine. Aelock are such a good band. The atmospheric black metal legends, definitely my favourite atmospheric black metal band, deliver another wondrous experience, their trademark blend of folk music and metal. I mean, this is not even their greatest achievement. I mean, this still doesn't come close to The Mantle, and yet it's number 19 on the list, but that's just because The Mantle is one of the great metal albums ever. The Mantle cannot be understated as how genius this is. And I would honestly say that there's, you know, I prefer a couple of their other albums to this, but even their weaker efforts are so damn well bloody good. Aelock don't understand weakness, and I hope they never do. And number 18, Crystalline by Hark. Do you like Mastodon? Do you like Baroness? And sludge metal with strong riffs and a good chorus? Because I sure do, and Hark deliver that in spades. One of the best sludge releases of the year. One of, not the best actually. Crystalline by Hark, again, saw them at Damnation, very impressive band live. I definitely think they could go places in the metal world. I think maybe they need to slightly diversify their sounds, maybe add something a little unique to it, but doing what they do is the type of music I really just adore, and I think they're one of the best bands at the moment doing it. So, to be honest, I suppose they don't really need to change. Carry on doing what you do in Hark, and I'm sure you get places. Number 17, an album that, well, I honestly was not that excited for, and I thought, you see, after Black Country Communion disbanded, it was like, Glen Hughes is probably going to make some crap solo albums, oh well. But then when he released California Breed by California Breed, it was like, oh, well, there's no Bonamassa. No Bonamassa, this isn't going to be good without Bonamassa. Bonamassa made Black Country Communion. And while this isn't as good as Black Country Communion's debut album, or maybe even their second album, after it wasn't very good, I was wrong. I'll admit it now, I was wrong when it came to California Breed. This is 70s rock done by a man who lived, breathed, and was a key component of it, featuring on albums like Deep Purple's Burn, for crying out loud. So who else is going to be able to really do this with as much maturity and depth as any modern bands attempted in 2014? Of course this album's fantastic. It has Jason Bonham, son of John Bonham, on drums, delivering a stunning performance as his drumming usually and bloody always is. Glen Hughes is still one of the best vocalists out there, and yet he's in his 60s, he must be by now, he's getting up there, and yet his pipes beat 95% of modern vocalists I hear in rock music today. Damn, end to end, killer album, all killer, no filler, Glen Hughes. Why the hell did I ever doubt you? And number 16, let's go for something a bit slower, a bit sludgier. Time to Die by Electric Wizard, the dark, sluggishly slow and impactful doom album from one of the best bands in the genre. I mean, these really were one of the kickstarters of the modern day doom revival, and it's the perfect stone album of the year if you like your drug-fueled, slow, stoner, brooding, dark metal. Then you're gonna love this album, because I certainly do. They're one of those bands, I think they can be quite love or hate with a lot of this type of slow doom metal, but I'm certainly one of those who does love this type of thing. So, Electric Wizard's Time to Die, well deserved in number 16. And number 15, an album that when it was announced I could not give less of a shit about, really. But then I discovered the band, and then I gave a lot of a shit about it. At War with Reality by At the Gates, the king of melodic death metal's triumphant return, with melodic, hard-hitting death metal featuring a lot of the best bloody riffs I've heard all year. At the Gates, I just constantly hear people talking about them because they're getting, certainly making a new album this year. So I decided to listen to Slaughter of the Soul. I gave in, and that was a good decision on my part because it was awesome, and then I saw them live and they were awesome, and I've listened to this album and it's awesome. It's just one of my favourite At the Gates albums, it really is. It's probably my second favourite At the Gates album. I think Slaughter of the Soul better, but I prefer this to Terminal Spirit Disease, to With Fear, Burning Darkness, and the first album they made, which I'm not too big on their first couple. It's more Slaughter of the Soul and Terminal Spirit from their classic period that I found myself more going back to. But no, this is definitely an album I'm going to be continuing to listen to from At the Gates. So when I want a slab of mellow death with some 2014 production values, this is the first album I'm going to turn to. Number 14, an album that, again, like Black Keys 10 Blue, was a bit divisive in the fan base, but that I really, really loved. Shelter by Alcest. Liège really completely here embraces the post-rock and shoegaze elements of the previous work, ditching completely their black metal sound, because Alcest, of course, known as being France's premier atmospheric black metal act, and here they're not black metal anymore. They're atmospheric as all hell, not black metal. And what I still love their work with black metal, I love Le Caille de Lune, that's probably my personal favourite. Or there's another one of their albums that I can never remember the name off the top of my head, so you're just going to have to bear with me for that one. Shelter, I definitely think is one of the best albums in their discography, I'd say. Definitely. I mean, they don't have that long a discography and all their albums are pretty bloody good, but it really didn't disappoint for me. I think this is one of the most beautiful, transcendent experiences I had all year. And it's Alcest. I mean, yes, it's all sung in French, so if things sung in other languages isn't your cup of tea, you might not like. Well, there's one song that's in English, and that's actually one of the worst songs on the album, weirdly enough. But yeah, I just love the beauty they managed to capture here. I definitely get a whole sort of vibe of the ocean, and of the sea, and that type of thing. And this album really just ebbs and flows in waves, sweeps over you, and takes you in. Damn, do I love Shelter. Number 13. Iceland. So Iceland has a lot of good bands at the moment, there's no doubt there. And Vintage Caravan of their album Voyage, yeah, they're one of the premier ones, I have to say. This is a surprise. This was their debut album, or certainly major label debut. They signed to Nuclear Blast and reinvigorate, like, oh hell, pump a shot of adrenaline to the late 60s, 70s revival scene. From a pretty relatively young band, to be honest. Well, Blues Pills, start to finesse it and things like that. Vintage Caravan, honestly, completely reinvigorated. I found this album such a breath of fresh air in 2014, blending that heavy rock, that psychedelia, and a dash of prog and musical diversity. How this was their first album, I have no freaking idea. This sounds like it should have been their third or fourth or fifth album. It's so musically accomplished and so mature. I don't know how they've done it, but they have. So just well done and very deserving of number 13. And the fact that it's low just shows how good some of the albums are that are yet to come. Number 12. How could this not be in the top bracket on my list? Pale Communion by Opeth. Continuing with the growl-free sound of Heritage, we see Opeth, well, number 12, how could this not be here? Pale Communion by Opeth. Continuing the growl-free sounds that was present in Heritage, we see Opeth sort of veer away from the direction of all over the place, fucked up type music from Heritage, to a more focused, a more melodic album, and a bit more metal, while still being very 70s, very classic, and very prog. Honestly, this is the album that should have been before Heritage, and Heritage should have been the sequel. This is a far more logical progression from Watershed, and a far better album than Heritage, which is not an Opeth album I'm particularly a big fan of. Opeth delivered here. Mick felt bloody genius. This is the best album with all clean vocals I think they've done. I prefer this to, I think, it's one of Damnation and Deliverance has the clean vocals. I think it's Damnation that has the clean vocals. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's Damnation that has the clean vocals. I actually prefer this to Damnation and to Heritage. I think they really excelled here. Well, it's not as good as Still Life and Like Water Park and Guess Reveries. This great album. Number 11, the band that taken the UK by storm. Their debut album going straight to number 1. Royal Blood's Royal Blood. Now this is one I haven't seen on a lot of fellow rock fans or rock critics' lists. Probably because this is quite simplistic stuff. It doesn't do anything particularly new, particularly interesting. What it does do well, it does so bloody freaking well that I don't give a shit. These are a two-piece band from Brighton. Everyone in Britain certainly knows about them, and they really what made them become so big was their melodic guitar-free, Queens of the Stone Age type of affair. Yes, it's just a drummer and a bassist who sings. That's it. And the bassist, dear God, does he manage to create one hell of a sound with his bass. I think it's tuned to like C tuning, and he uses various amplifiers, so many effects. I don't know how the hell he creates a sound. Jimmy Page is a big fan of this band. Lars Ulrich likes them. I really think they deserve the popularity they've got from this album. It's a very short album, only half an hour, but I think that's good. It doesn't outstay its welcome and features some of the catchiest tunes of the year. I'm a sucker for a catchy chorus, and that's why I love Royal Blood.